Yes, well, I suppose my dearest friend Zach usually starts these matters off with some trite placation, something along the lines of, oh, what does he say?
Greetings,
Yes,
friends,
yes,
mostly enemies.
that is it. That's the one. Well, you shall hear no such nonsense from me, Sir Reginald Withworth the Third. I am here today at the behest of my good friend Zach and frankly, his squalor, to review the quite miraculous piece of literature that he has created. Quite frankly, to think that someone who lives like this is capable of writing such a work boggles the mind what some people are truly capable of when you give them half a chance, doesn't it? So, strap in, my lads and ladies. Today we are here to talk about my good friend Zach Pieper's debut novel, The Garden of Lies. As with any intellectual discussion, we are going to have a glass of whiskey with our discussion. Unfortunately, all Zach has to offer me is this American swill that somehow passes for liquor, but when in doubt, eh? Or perhaps this is more of a when in Rome situation. Barely has enough to cover my rocks. I tell you, did I ever tell you, Zach, about the time I went to Chinatown and asked... Now, let's dive into this actually somewhat profound piece of literature we're discussing today. Yes, quite. So, as I'm sure all of you know at this point, being on Zach's channel, this is his debut novel. It is an epic fantasy, a work of fiction. Very little grounding in reality at all, really. It's actually quite a case study in the man's imagination and the way his mind works. Very fascinating to analyze it from a psychoanalytic standpoint. I can't claim to do it as a profession, but I think it's something of a hobby to try to break down the psyche of those I know. And Zach continues to elude me, but I'll get him one of these days. But, regardless, looking at it just on its face as a story, marvelous piece of work, marvelous piece of work. You know, it's very rare that you see an author who can write in first-person present tense well. You see it all the time, authors talking about how they write in close third past tense because that is the true storytelling medium. And perhaps for some tales, that is the medium of choice. But I feel that in certain stories, such as The Garden of Lies, right, we want a more urgent sense of things. We want things to feel like they're more dire in circumstance, right? And so, with Zach's writing in the present tense, it makes everything feel quick and urgent and immediate. There's a whiplash response from one emotion to the other in the pivotal scenes, and he really captures the essence of what it is to be alive at times, right? Because life does not stand still for no man. And to see a book that captures what it is to truly live in one fast-paced moment to the next, and capture that on page, it is a rarity. It is a rarity. I dare say it rivals the work of Pierce Brown, if you've met or come by his work. Fascinating storyteller, a true genius of science fiction. But moving on back to Zach's work. Now, when you begin to speak of his cast, I think this is where Zach truly shines as a writer. You know, you would never guess that he had such a sense of empathy from meeting him. In fact, he has something of a personal reputation in his friend circle as being something of a jackass, really, an American jackass. But my God, the empathy he demonstrates on the page. It's like he's inside the head of every character he's written. And there's such a wide variety of characters in this story. Frankly, it boggles the mind how one man can understand so many perspectives and have so many different ways of looking at life. Frankly, it is a stunning achievement of humanity whenever someone achieves that level of empathy. And I do not mean to brown nose or act as a sycophant to my good friend Zach. Do not get me wrong, he is quite flawed. But my God, the intellectual mass he has demonstrated here. Frankly, I never saw it coming. So, his characters are fantastic. Fantastic. I personally find myself fancying Amnis and Cura quite a lot. They are absolutely phenomenal young women, warriors of their empire, as it were, and if they were the queen's subjects, they would be absolutely exemplary. Exemplary. Two finer women I've read not. Absolutely fantastic. Now, in the settings department, no complaints there either. It's perhaps one of the more laid-back elements of the story, one of the less interesting. The fact of the matter is, it's not that compelling to me. You see, he's placed us on a new world. He calls the planet Garden, right? But it doesn't seem, in all actuality, too dissimilar from Earth. Sure, we have some new plants and some new animals, but essentially, physics appears to be the same, and by and large, it seems to be a Earth-like planet, and I just feel that if you're going to create a world from scratch, go buck wild with it, I say, you know? You could have done so much here, Zach. You could have done so much here, and frankly, it's Earth 2.0 with some strange animals. Slightly lazy, old boy. Now, one thing that I will say, I did not like. There is frankly an absurd amount of reverie and celebration in this tale. Half the characters behave like Scots half the time, and I suppose if you like a cast of characters that looks for any excuse to get drunk and act a fool, then it's right up your alley, but I frankly thought it got a little old. Yes. I mean, seriously, it seems like every other chapter the characters are getting drunk and throwing a party. And I suppose there's a certain audience that likes that. Irishmen. But it did not take my fancy. But even in spite of that quirk of their behavior and culture, the cast is still quite fantastic. Everyone has flaws, I say, and if your worst flaw is that you like to get drunk and party every other weekend, well, you could be worse. You could be Dutch. Or, God forbid, French. Ugh, those people. Now, perhaps, the thing that I loved the absolute most, is Zach's plot. Zach has taken some truly classical storytelling elements and plot themes, as it were, and he's combined them together in new and interesting ways. If you study human psychology as I do, you know that true original thought is something of a myth, right? Humans, frankly, do not create original thought. It's been well documented scientifically that our brains actually create what we perceive as original thought by recombining new ideas and and making something that appears new simply because it's taken so many parts from so many other things. And Zach has done that wonderfully. It is so hard to say that his book is just a rewrite of this or a recombination of that, because he has taken so many interesting parts from so many interesting things and flawlessly sewn them together like a seamstress to the queen herself. Magnificent. Magnificent. There are a few places where, frankly, there is inexcusable bastardization of the mother tongue. The English in some parts is, frankly, Americanized and foul beyond belief. I was actually appalled at some of his usages and some of his just lazy use of language. Perhaps the most irritating thing about the book. Overall, I would give The Garden of Lies by my good friend Zach Pieper something ranging in the 3.5 to 4 stars. It is by no means an unrepentant masterwork, but it has potential. I could definitely see the sequel and the conclusion to his planned trilogy being books for the ages. If you have not already, check out The Garden of Lies. Frankly, I think that any lover of fantasy or science fiction's library would be incomplete without it. Yes. And do hurry and sign up for his pre-order giveaway, because frankly, if you don't sign up for free shit, you're a fool. Who doesn't want free shit? The book is, again, The Garden of Lies by my good friend Zach Pieper. And despite the fact that he is a rowdy hooligan, he is also a brilliant writer, and he deserves your attention. Thank you. Cheers.